Okay. Now, in Matrix, whenever you go directly into Matrix, you go directly into your dashboard where you have a market watch and a hot sheet. The market watch and the hot sheets, they're very, very similar in that you can hyper focus on areas where you have sellers or buyers, where you can see activity in the MLS happening in those key areas. What's the difference between a market watch and a hot sheet? They both perform the same function in that we can track price increases, price decreases, properties that were off of the market for a little bit that are back on the market. They allow us to find new listings and track individual status changes in the MLS. Both the Market Watch and the Hot Sheet can do that for you. But what's the difference between the two? Market Watch is going to let you go back a maximum of 7 days. So, for example, maybe you have a buyer, they're on a budget, they're trying to buy a property, maybe underneath the price of 450,000. You can set up a market watch to track those properties as they hit the MLS that are underneath maybe 450, or find properties where the homeowner authorized the seller to lower the price as a price decrease. And then you can track those again under the market watch going back 7 days. A hot sheet does the same exact status changes, but a hot sheet has a custom option where I can go back 30 days. So Market Watch is 7 days. Hot sheets go farther back in time, up to using the custom option 30 days. So if you've been a member with us for a while, I wanted to make sure I broke down the differences between these two. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you guys how to take advantage of the Market Watch. Okay, there is multiple separate Market Watches that you can create. We have one for our residential property types that are available for sale, which is a combination of the RE1 and RE2. So again, I just want to repeat real quick one more time. What is RE1? What is RE2? RE1 in the MLS means a single family home or a manufactured home. And RE2 in the MLS refers to a condo or a townhome or a huge condo that's detached, also known as a villa style property, and or a co-op unit. So again, RE2 is my condos, my townhomes, my co-op units, and my detached townhomes, which are large. They're called villas. Okay. I can set up a market watch just for residential land or residential income all the way down to a cross property. Okay, we're going to keep this basic. We're going to use the single family condo section, and let's look at changes happening. Let's go back 3 days. Okay, but how can I customize this? If I don't customize my market watch or my hot sheet, it's going to track changes happening all over South Florida or any listing that is in the MLS. So, a good rule of thumb is to customize your market watch so you can track the areas where you have sellers listing their properties or where you have buyers trying to buy property. So you can track changes in the MLS. So we're going to go right here where you see customize. This takes us into the back end of the system where we can set up a customized market watch. Now, by default, it's going to include all residential property types. But if you just want single family, you can click on single family. If you're maybe just a condo agent, you could click on condo, co-op, villa, townhouse. This is going to allow you to select your subtypes if you only want to focus on very specific style of property. We're going to treat this very basic. We're going to incorporate both the single family and condo option, meaning we're going to highlight both single family, condo, co-op, all the way to townhouse. And we're going to pretend in our mind that we have customers in a couple of key locations. We're going to keep this very basic. We're going to move over here into the middle section. The middle section, as we're searching, is how we can search by location. So we're going to come here in the middle, move down to the section city. And if you want to track multiple cities, you can. You can enter the name of the city. Okay, I have someone that's not muted. If I can have that person mute themselves. Actually, I just took care of it for us. Okay. You enter the first city that you're tracking. You can add a comma, and then you could add the second location. You would just come here and then type that out. Or, or alternatively, we have these squares located right here. This is going to allow us to jump into seeing all 269 cities that are in the MLS that we can track. So I'm going to do that one more time. Right here, city, I can type them out, add a comma. So if I'm tracking multiple areas for multiple customers, I can just add a comma between. Or I have the double squares here, which will allow me to go through the lookup of all of the cities that are in the system, where I can just add them maybe one at a time, or I can go to the search bar up here and then search also by name and then add those directly to my search. Okay, so we're going to keep this very, very basic. I'm going to delete the cities that I have. We're going to track changes that are happening specifically in the Doral market right here. We're going to pretend that we have customers looking to buy property in the Doral market. So I'm going to put Doral, comma, and then we're going to track one more area, one more area. Let's go ahead and add one more location. Let's add Cutler Bay as well. So again, Doral, Cutler Bay. We're going to just save this. We're going to go down here at the bottom, click on save, and then lock that in. Okay, excellent. All right, now that we did that, we've officially customized our Market Watch, and then that will give me changes that are either happening within the past 24 hours or today, past 3 days, or up to 7 days. But if I want to go farther back in time to find changes as they're happening in the MLS, greater than 7 days, I would use the hot sheets right here. Okay, we're going to do a hot sheet in just a moment, but let's go ahead and go through the option for the market watch first. Okay, so I'm going to go and switch it to 7 days. And in the markets that we selected, if we ever want to double check the areas that we selected, you can go right here where you see customize. That's going to allow you to see the locations that you've selected. And if you want to add any other cities, again, all you have to do one more time is to click on customize. If you want to reset, meaning start from scratch, you click on the reset button, and then that's going to give you all of the changes happening in the entire system, unless you go back into customize and then enter the areas that you want to look up. So for Doral in the Cutler Bay area, we have within the past week, 54 brand new listings that just hit the MLS, 9 that were off of the market that are back on the market. They were either temporarily off of the market or withdrawn, but they're now back on the market. We have 45 price decreases in these two market areas, 2 properties that had a price increase, 16 that are currently under contract, but the homeowner's taking backup offers, aka active with contract. We have 17 canceled sales, 16 closed units that were reported as closed within the past week, 20 properties that were placed under contract as pending sale. We have 0 under rented because, again, we're in the for sale section. So if you do want to track maybe rentals, you can. You would switch it to the RNT residential rental section. Okay, we have 6 that were put off of the market within the past 7 days, and then 2 that were placed as withdrawn, meaning they are also off of the market. But what's the difference, real quick? What is the difference between temporarily off of the market and withdrawn? Temporarily off of the market means that the listing agent is confident that the property is going to be available again for sale with their brokerage. I'm going to give you an example. Sometimes you have a listing agreement that you sign with your seller they put it on the market for about 30 days and then they have to maybe go to a vacation. Maybe they have a vacation up and coming, or they want to do a repair to their property. Temporary off the market means that the listing agent is confident that that property is going to be for sale again anywhere between now or within the next 90 days. As to where withdrawn means that the agent is not confident if that property is going to be for sale again under their brokerage. There's still a listing agreement. I want to make sure I repeat that. Withdrawn means that there's still a listing agreement in place between the brokerage and the seller. The property, however, is off of the market, likely until their agreement expires. When do brokers usually use withdrawn? They use it in the event that there might have been, and I say this nicely, a falling out between that broker and the seller, and the seller does not want to pay an early termination fee to cancel the listing agreement. Because the broker owns the listing and it's still an active agreement, the broker can block anyone else from listing the property until their agreement naturally expires. We have 6 expired listings in the Doral market and the Cutler Bay market that expired within the past 7 days. All right, perfect. I like to make sure I go over the differences between withdrawn and temporary off the market. Again, why I like to do that is withdrawn in other countries can mean canceled, but in the MLS, withdrawn still means that there's an agreement in place between the brokerage and the seller. Again, I mention that because we have agents that like to farm for canceled listings and expireds. You do not contact the homeowner when the listing is placed as withdrawn. All right. Just wanted to make sure I hyperemphasize on that. But how, if
Hello?
I'm working directly with the customer, can I track changes that are happening in the MLS? If you guys have questions, want to make sure I mention, put those in a chat. This is being recorded. I do need the recording so that we can put that on the website. If you have questions, please put those in the chat, guys. All right. Thank you. All right. Further down, if you're working with a customer, right, and they want to have you track price decreases, right? A price decrease is a great indicator that the seller is motivated to sell their property, which is why we want to create this market watch. So if we want to track maybe the price decreases or the properties that just came back on the market, I can go right here, see all 45 properties that had a price decrease, and then that's going to give me access to the property type, the individual listing numbers, and if I can schedule a showing to see the property, I'll have this little button here that says showing time. So if this is enabled, it means that the listing agent has activated showing time so I can see if the property is available for showings. If I don't see that showing time icon, for example, this third property here, I would need to click on its listing number and then track how that property can be shown. That's going to be located here under the agent information, right here under the showing instructions. So for example, Zoramir is letting me know that if I have a buyer, I want to see the property, I got to let the agent know within 24 hours, and that in order to conduct a request to see the property, I got to call the listing agent. Always great to know if the unit is occupied directly or not. So right here, it just says call listing agent. That could be a good indication that it is a vacant unit, meaning it should be a fairly easy go and show style property. Okay, perfect. Now, if you click on any listing when you're in your grid, if you ever click on a listing like I did when you're in your grid and you want to get back to that grid, you're going to need to go right here where it says RE1, RE2 hot sheet display. This is how we get right back to where we were, which is the grid of all of the listings that are showing up under the market decrease. Okay, but we're looking into 2 different cities, right? We're looking in the Doral area. We're looking in the Cutler Bay area. So how do I, for example, how do I go in here and customize my grid? I just reset my grid so my grid looks just like yours. How can I customize this and add additional information to my grid? Okay, I'm going to cover real quick how to set up your columns. Once you add more information directly to your grid, do not worry. I'm also going to show you how you can lock it in and keep this forever and always. But again, we're in the price decrease section. What's really cool about the price decrease section is I can see how much they've reduced their individual prices on the units. And I can, for example, hover over the percentage, and then that's going to give me the price change. So again, if you hover your mouse over the percentage and let go, for example, this one, it's letting me know that it went from $834,999 down to right now $824,999. All right. Okay. But again, I'm tracking two different areas. How can I customize my grid so I can see more information? We're going to cover that real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the city. We have the address right here. But how can I add the individual cities of where these units are located? Think of this as being very similar to Excel. These are going to be columns, as you can see, of information. So if you ever want to add a new column, for example, we're going to add the city locations. We're going to put it right here, right next to address. So if you hover your mouse over the top of the column, without hovering your mouse over address, meaning hover your mouse in the gray open section. This is going to turn your mouse into a crosshair, just like mine. It's going to do this. In order to add more content to your grid, all you have to do is click. But again, do not hover over the name of the field. You hover over the empty space. Again, staying inside of that gray column. Mouse turns into a crosshair. You click, and then you can go right here to add additional content to your grid. So we're going to go right into insert column, and then under search, I'm going to type in city name so that we can add the name of the cities that we're tracking. But we're not done. As soon as I type in what I'm looking up, I got to click on it. A lot of folks miss that part. But you search first for what you want to add, and then you click on it, and then you click on apply, and then it adds that column directly to your grid. We're going to do that one more time. So I'm going to go here to address, move my mouse into the open space. I'm going to click, go down to insert column, search. I'm going to put in the word city, or I could put the full name of the field I need, and then it's going to show it right here. Do me a favor though, as you're searching for your columns, never hit the space bar after you're done typing in what you want. If you do that, it makes it disappear because that extra button click, that extra tab space is a character and it will make it not show up. So I'm going to go ahead and add once again city name, click on apply, and then from there, that gives me the each individual city in the areas that I'm looking up for my market watch. Okay, but we're not done. We're going to add one more. Let's add one more set of details. We're going to add days on market. You can add days on market anywhere you want, but I want to show you a really quick, easy way to add it over here on the left. So we're going to go to the current listing numbers. I'm going to move my mouse right here in the open space where we see ML number. Again, our mouse does this, crosshair. I'm going to click. We're going to insert this time the days on market. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and type out DOM for days on market, and then we're going to add the DOM, also known as days on market, to our grid. I'm going to cover what this one is in a little bit once we get into searching using the RE1, RE2 option. But first, we're going to go ahead and add the days on market. Again, the DOM-grid, click on apply, and then voila. That's going to give me each individual listings, days on the market, as well as the city locations within my grid. But how can I keep this locked in? How can I keep all of this type of information locked in? You can do so by coming over here where you see this little settings button. You would give that a click and then click right here, set current display sort order and count per page as my hot sheet market watch default. That's going to incorporate keeping the days on market and the city locations in your market watch and hot sheet grid. Okay, in a little bit, we're going to come over here to searching for properties that are for sale. And then when we do that, we're going to build out an even bigger grid with more information. So don't worry, we're going to do that in a little bit. Okay, perfect. Now you can jump into other market watch types that you have. You have this little down arrow. I'm going to do that again, this little down arrow. So if you want to go out of your price decreases, maybe you want to switch it to the 54 brand new listings that just hit the MLS. You can do so by just clicking the little down arrow. That's how we switch from our different market watch types. Okay, now we're going to start from left to right. We're going to break down this whole entire grid. This little icon here will allow us to see the photos of the unit without having to necessarily click on each listing. This allows me to stay in my grid and then just review the properties, including the photos. All right, this next icon, this little money sign, will take us directly into the county record that Relist has for this property. This little I button does the same thing. But it takes me into a different program called IMAP, where I can see all of the information that the county appraiser has for this unit, including the bedrooms and bathrooms, their tax amount. I could see if they paid their taxes. I could see the schools in the given area, as well as a quick estimation on the value of the property, and also run a CMA using the IMAP or the realist icon. So again, these are tax roll programs. But again, what is the difference between the two? I like to make sure I go over kind of comparing our tax roll programs. They all have amazing benefits. What I like about Realist is, for example, maybe I'm working with a buyer that wants to buy this property in Cutler Bay at 9300 Marine Drive, priced at 829. Maybe they want to not just buy the unit. Maybe they want to turn the property into maybe a rental. What I like about the money sign, which is again Realist, is the reports. I like Realist for reports. I like IMAP to look up property information. That way I can see if there's any, again, tax delinquency on the property. I like IMAP also to see if there's code violations on the property and permit request changes. Realist doesn't do the violation part or the permit request part, but what again I like about Realist is if I'm working with a buyer that wants to buy a property or a seller, I like it for its reports. So I just want to show that real quick. I'm going to click on the Realist money sign for this unit. So if my buyer wants to buy the unit, I can see if the current unit is occupied or not by the current homeowner, which is going to be this section right here, owner information. This is a rental unit. It's not occupied by the owner. It is currently being sold by Steinhardt Management LLC. This gives me a mixture of what's being reported about the property within the MLS and also from the county. So I have the bedrooms and bathrooms, asking price, when it was listed. Realist will also give me an estimation on home values in the area, the lifestyle. But this is what I wanted to show you. Let me come on down here real quick. It's going to give you rental trends in that neighborhood, as you can see. This is great for me when working directly with a buyer. It's letting me know that on the lowest end in this market, specifically of 33189, units in that area are renting out as low as 2,606. It's fairly confident that this unit would rent out at about 2,715, but the cap of this market is no more than roughly around 2,824, as we can see. This is great information for me to work with if I have a buyer that's not maybe moving into the unit and they want to see a price estimation on if they rent out the unit. You can also run quick comparables using Realist. So if I have a buyer that wants to buy it, I can click on comparables. The system automatically runs a CMA. Just going to give it a moment to load. It'll automatically run a CMA. As we can see, we're already pulling automatic suggestions. And Another thing, just real quick, I want to highlight for realist is there's an amazing report called Market Trends in this system. This Market Trends report is available for any property within the realist system. I like the Market Trends report to convert a FSBO, a for sale by owner, to allow me to sell the property. So if you do a lot of door knocking or calling homeowners to see if they want to sell their property, this Market Trends report compares sold property in the MLS versus sold property outside of the MLS, such as for sale by owners or development units. All right. So again, this report, if you want to incorporate it, maybe as your door knocking in any zip code, you can print it out. Let me just cover it real quick. So you get an overview on that zip code over the amount of sales that are happening. So for example, in 33189, there's been 16 closed sales there. It's giving me an average sale price for this zip code of 480,000. It's letting me know that there's 95 active listings for sale and for rent in that zip code. If I'm working directly with the seller or buyer, I get a general understanding on the days on market in that area. So it's letting me know that currently the average days on market is roughly around 70 days. So that if I get that question from my seller or buyer, I can let them know, hey, it's not going to sell at 30 days. The average days on market is 70 days. So we might have to wait a little bit in order for your unit to get sold. It's going to give us the average price per square feet for that zip code, how closely homeowners are getting to their asking price. Homeowners are getting 98% of their asking price. And then this is where it gets fun. This is where I can convert that for sale by owner and compare MLS sales in their zip code versus off-market sales. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. This is going to give me a general overview of recorded sales that have happened in the MLS with agents. So it's letting me know for March, the average sale price in the MLS, again, for zip code 33189 was 558,039. For sale by owners, it was roughly around $480,000. Yeah, rather 480,462. Sorry, got a little tongue tied there. This is where I can compare. If you work with me, you're maximizing the ability to not just sell your property, but command a higher price once we list it and sell it. As I'm sure a lot of you know, when you represent a seller as a real estate agent, specifically as a realtor associate, we command the ability to have a higher price once that property is sold. So this is where we can convey our seller's proposition, why that seller should work directly with us, comparing MLS sold prices versus off-market prices. All right. Over here, we have the average sell to original list price. So for March, homeowners got 98% of asking. February, they got 100% of asking. And then same month prior, meaning March of 2024, on average, they got almost everything they wanted at 99%. So again, if you want to use this report to convert a for sale by owner to allow you to list their property in the MLS, this is where we can compare if you list with me in the MLS versus if you go off by yourself. Tax again always means sales that happened outside of the MLS, such as for sale by owners or directly from a developer, also known as new construction. Okay. You would just click on print up here, click on quick print. That's going to allow you to download the report and then have that available as you walk around that zip code. Just wanted to highlight that real quick, guys. Again, this is available on any property that you search in the MLS. It's the little money sign, or you can go right here where you see relist, enter a zip code that you want to track, and it's going to give you that report on any property. Okay. Another thing real quick is the IMAP button. So for example, if I have that buyer that wants to buy this unit priced at 829 in the Cutler Bay area, IMAP's going to let me know if that homeowner filed permits to modify it. It's going to let me know if there's any outstanding violations on the property and if they're behind on their taxes. That's what I love about IMAP. Just want to show that real quick. I'm going to click on IMAP. And then in the new version of IMAP, I don't just get the homeowner's information. I also get a valuation on a mortgage estimation, how much they have left on their mortgage. This is new. I just want to real quick cover some of the new things in IMAP. So I'm going to go right here where you see valuation analysis. This is going to give me an estimation on their remaining loan balance. So they've paid it off. Right here, there's no loan balance. I get the current estimated value and then the full equity estimate on that property. All right, if you ever click on any of the buttons located here on the right when you're in IMAP and you want to go back to that property page, you go right here to property tax. That's going to put you right back into the main record of that property, as you can see. Where can I find the violation history? Where can I find the permit history on a property? Before IMAP made this available, guys, we used to have to do title searches to find this. It is now incorporated for free. Where can you find that code violation history? That's going to be right here under city interactions. Now, this is a good I don't mean good property. I mean, this is a property that there is no permit history or violations on the property. But if you want to track that on any property, that's going to be here where you see city interactions. This is going to let me know if for example, if they've gone through any inspections directly from the city, if they filed a license to rent out the property for Airbnb. Again, this is going to be that section to find it, permit requests and code violations. So this property has no history of any of that, which is why it's blank. But again, take advantage of this. If you're working directly with a buyer, before they submit that purchase offer, it's a good idea to go here to track and see if there's any issues with that property. Okay. Again, kind of highlighted this earlier. When I see this button, this little purple icon, it means that the agent has enabled showing time. So if I'm working directly with the buyer, I can schedule and see if it's available for showings. Again, if I don't see it, I got to go into the listing and track the showing instructions. Okay, now I'm going to move over real quick. All right. And then sometimes you'll see this little icon right here. This will indicate if there's an up and coming open house, just this little icon right here. You just click on it, and then that's going to show you the time and date of the up and coming open house that they have. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to keep going. That's just a quick little breakdown there of the market watch and how to set that up. And you do the same thing for your hot sheets as well. The nuance, the little detail that's different, guys, is how you can turn your hot sheet going back 30 days. So if you ever want to do that, you go here to custom, again, under the hot sheet, you click on customize, you select the type of hot sheet that you want to edit, such as rentals. You click on custom, and then that's going to allow you to change the date range. You just click on the type of property. That's going to open up the calendar. We're just going to do that one more time again. Just do that again. You go to custom. So for example, for single family or a condo, you click on it. And if you want to go back more than 7 days to track changes in that local market, you will open up the calendar. And as I mentioned, you can go back a full 30 days. You just select your date and then run it. And then that's going to show you all of the changes going back within that hot sheet, tracking maybe price decreases, properties that hit back on the market. All right. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. All right. So this is the Matrix 201, probably the most important matrix class that we offer. They're all important, but I would say that this one is the most foundational as far as how to use the system in order to send listings directly to your customer. Okay, so what we're going to do first, very, very important, is we're going to go here where you see the Miami Gateway. We're going to click on that in order to sign in. And then not only are we going to have the resource panel open, we're also going to have miamirealtors.com open as well. Okay, so I want to repeat that. We're going to have one tab that has miamirealtors.com open, and then we're going to go here to the gateway. We're going to click on the gateway so that we have the resource panel also open. Okay, all right. Once we access the resource panel, we're going to go ahead and open up the core logic matrix system. Okay, we're just going to open it for now. All right, we're going to pretend that we're going to have a different type of scenarios when we're working directly with buyers. Okay, so we're going to search in just a moment. We're going to go through best practices, including customizing your views so you can see as much information pertinent to each transaction inside of the MLS. Okay, we're going to keep this open for now, but we're going to go back to the other tab where we have miamirealtors.com open. All right, where we're going to go is we're going to go into the MLS section of the website. So again, miamirealtors.com/MLS, or by clicking on the MLS button located here in the top left. Okay, when you go to the MLS section, this is going to take you directly to our Miami MLS Resource Center. Okay, what you're going to find here is a lot of very, very important things, including our rules and regulations. Okay, you can find the MLS policies and procedures located here, as well as our MLS fine schedule sheet as well. And we do a deep dive on the MLS fine schedule sheet, as well as the MLS policies and procedures in the Matrix 601. So if you want to know how to stay out of trouble in the MLS, you would want to make sure that you take the sixth Matrix class, where we do a deep dive on these fine scheduling sheet, the MLS policies and procedures, and we also touch base on all of these forms here that are required typically when you're working directly with a seller, just depending on different types of sellers, including a seller authorization form. We discuss when that is needed, as well as a seller's authorization form for coming soon listings. And there is one that is optional in here called the request for affirmation of presentation of offer. All of these forms that you find here under MLS forms and applications, they're in the form simplicity system, as well as dot loop and transaction desk. The one that is optional is this one, where it says request for affirmation of presentation of offer. All right, this one is when you're working directly with a buyer. I just want to highlight this real quick before we go into Matrix. All right, this form is optional, but you're more than welcome to use it. Why would you use this form? You could use this form when you submit an offer on the behalf of your buyer. I'm going to repeat that one more time. When you're working directly with a buyer or a tenant, when you submit their FAR bar contract, your offer, as well as the lease agreement, this form works as a receipt. Okay, what do I mean by that? You, as the buyer's agent or tenant agent, when you're submitting your offer, you can fill out the top part. You would put your email address, fax number, cell phone number, the date you're submitting the offer, the listing number, along with your license information and brokerage name. You would submit this with that offer. What I mean by it works as a receipt is the listing brokerage has to complete the bottom part located here. Okay. The brokerage that listed the property, they will let you know, and this is what I mean by this works as a receipt. They can let you know if the offer was presented to the seller, or if the seller wasn't available until when, or if the seller outright waived the obligation to have the purchase offer presented. Okay. Again, these are the forms right here that we discuss in that Matrix 601. But I just wanted to highlight one that is powerful, that will help us through our due diligence proof that we got something in writing directly from the listing brokerage when it comes to that offer for our buyer or that tenant. So that's right. This works. It says it right here. A written affirmation to the cooperating broker stating that the offer has been submitted to the seller and landlord. So this also works for rentals. Okay. All right. So uh, also inside of this MLS page, you also have access to the Miami-Dade Condo HOA registry. We also create videos that are 60 seconds called the Miami MLS briefing. If there's any important update that you need to know about, you can view the video located here. Not to mention, we have a easy as 1, 2, 3 series that lets you know about all of our product and services. Not to mention a knowledge base right here where you see Help Center. This is going to take you directly into our Miami Realtors MLS Help Center. It is packed. Forgive me, guys. There's just a lot of folks coming in still. All right. We have a section here where you see Miami Realtors MLS Help Center. This is going to take you to a knowledge base that does include training videos, matrix resources, resources also for your clients, including one home, commercial resources, IMAP, Realist, CMA resources located here where you see Miami Realtors MLS Help Center. Okay. All right. Also inside of the MLS page, you can find all of the up and coming MLS classes that you can register for, including this week's 301 and 401. And then as you go down, if there's anything you don't know about the MLS, what I mean by what you don't know about the MLS, we have a section here that says tutorials and information. MLS does have a lot of abbreviations. So in the 101, I did mention RE1 and I did mention RE2. There's also other abbreviations that I mentioned, which is RLD, RNT, CLD. If you want to find a quick and easy resource guide that gives you a breakdown on all of those different abbreviations inside of the MLS, come here to the tutorials and information section. There's a matrix FAQ. There's a user guide, a matrix tutorial, as well as information on how to create an open house whenever you're working with the seller or a landlord. We have amazing tutorials and information located here on the page. Okay. All right. Why we are here. The reason why we're here is we're going to locate this section where it says MLS input forms. Okay. The input forms that we see here, they're also in Form Simplicity, Transaction Desk, as well as Dot Loop. Why do you need to know about these input forms? They serve two different needs. Okay. In a moment, we're going to go into the MLS. We're going to pretend that we're working with a buyer. They're interested in a single family home in the Miami-Dade area. And inside of that single family home, they want to make sure that there is a area where they can have an office, and outside they might want to have fruit trees already set up. Okay, so these input sheets, what they're going to allow us to do is they're going to incorporate every single field that exists inside of the MLS so we can better find property for that buyer. These input sheets can also help us dial in and find features for a property, such as improvements, so we can better define our CMAs, which is a comparative market analysis report. Okay, so as I mentioned in the 101, RE1 means single family homes or manufactured homes, also known as mobile homes. RE2 is all of my other residential properties, including condo units, co-op units, villas, as well as townhomes. That's going to be RE2. Very, very important to know that as we use these individual input sheets. Okay, so we're going to go right here where you see MLS input forms, and we're going to go right there where you see SEF RE1 input sheet. We're going to click on it so we have this ready when we start searching inside of the MLS. Okay, so again, these input sheets serve two different needs. One is they have the names of every single field for me to search when I'm working with a buyer. The other reason why we need to know about these input sheets is whenever we're listing a property in the MLS, every section that has an R in red, these are required sections that have to be filled out when we list properties inside of the MLS. Okay. Now you're going to notice there is some sections that does not have the R logo. That means they're optional, but some of these optional fields may help us find exactly what that buyer wants, or they're going to allow us to better define our CMA as well. A number one reason why agents use input sheets is whenever they're working directly with their seller. Who knows a property better than the seller? The seller is going to know every single thing about that property, including the construction type, typically, the interior features, as well as the exterior features. And they're going to be able to tell us as well if the windows have been treated, as well as all of the individual amenities inside of that building or within that community as well. So these input sheets, you can download these and send them to your seller. They can help you fill them out so that you can list their property for sale or for rent inside of the MLS. Okay, for now, we're going to just keep the input sheet open, and in a moment, I'm going to teach you how to use it so you can find exactly that right property when you're working directly with your buyers. So we're going to go into Matrix, and then we're going to go up here into search, and then we're going to go through the lay of the land. I'm going to teach you all of the different search filters that we get for free. And what I mean by free is we automatically get the fields without having to add anything. Then I'm going to show you how to add additional content so you can find properties inside of the MLS. So we're going to go to search, and then we're going to go right here into the RE1, RE2 single family condo section. All right. Okay. So over here on the left, where you see single family condo RE1, RE2, this is letting us know that we can find any residential property where there's at least one unit available for sale. Okay. If I have a buyer that needs multiple units, maybe they need two apartments, they need a duplex or a triplex. I don't go into this menu. I would instead go here where you see residential income multifamily. That's where we can find our 2 units up to 4 units. That could be multiple apartments. That could be a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex. That could be 4 condo units as well. So when I'm looking for just typically 1 unit, I would go here when it's residential under the RE1, RE2 section. Okay. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure everyone has a good understanding of all of these different statuses inside of the MLS. Okay, the very first one that we have is active. Active means that the unit is available for showings and it's not under contract. Active is the type of listings that we ordinarily send to a buyer that wants to purchase property. We have another option that we can send to a buyer called coming soon. Coming soon means that the property is not yet available for showings. Okay. Now, if you're working directly with a buyer, you could, of course, submit offers on a coming soon property, but you would want to tell that buyer it's not yet available for showings. Okay. We have another one here called active with contract. Active with contract is related to the pending status. Okay. These two right here are related. So active with contract and pending, both of these mean that the property's under contract. There's a little bit of a difference though. Active with contract means
¿La comida
that,
buena o tuya?
okay, so I need to mute that person. Forgive me. All right. Okay. There you go. Guys, just make sure you're muted. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's go back. So both active with contract and pending, both of these mean that the property's under contract pending contingencies. I just have to say that because there's a misconception that pending means that there's no contingencies. That's not true. Active with contract and pending both mean that the property's under contract and there could be contingencies until the unit's ready to close. Active with contract means that the property's under contract and the homeowner, the seller, is entertaining backup offers just in case the current contract doesn't go through. As to where pending means, again, it's under contract, but the homeowner is not entertaining backup offers. You can still, as a listing agent, enter individual items that need to be done, including contingencies, just like active with contract. The reason why I mention that is before I was a trainer, I was in the MLS department, and my time in the MLS, I got calls from agents. They thought that active with contract came before pending. That is not true. It just comes down to if your seller is entertaining backup offers or not. It's that simple. All right. Okay. So we're going to keep going, guys. We have another one which is canceled. That means that there was an agreement for the sell between the brokerage and the seller, but the agreement was canceled. Okay, we have another one which is closed. Closed means that the property hit the market, went under contract, and a buyer purchased the property. It is officially a closed sale. All right. Next one is rented. Now, rented is not going to work inside of this menu. This menu is where we find property, residential property available for sale. Rented will work here under the RNT residential rental section. Rented is great to find units that found a tenant so I can create my CMA for a rental property. Okay. All right. The next two is temporarily off of the market and withdrawn. Both of these are related. There's just a little bit of a difference between the two. Temporarily off of the market means just that. The property is temporarily off of the market. Maybe the homeowner stepped out of town. Maybe they're waiting on the kitchen to be remodeled. It's off of the market for no more than 30 days. So again, temporary off market means the property's either off of the market for a couple of days, but no more than 30 days. As to where withdrawn is a longer extended version of temporarily off of the market. Withdrawn means that the property's off of the market for more than 30 days. Maybe the homeowner needs a lot of work done in order for the property to be shown. Withdrawn means that there's still a listing agreement in place. It was not canceled. The property is off of the market. Okay, the reason why I say this is some agents think that withdrawn and canceled are the same things. They are not. Canceled means the agreement to sell the property was canceled. Withdrawn would mean that there's still an agreement in place. So, in other words, if you're prospecting and you're trying to contact the seller once the property is updated to withdrawn, you do not want to do that. There's still a listing agreement that has not been canceled. Okay. Last but not least is expired. Expired. Expired means that the listing agreement in place expired. Okay. All right. So again, that is a complete breakdown of my individual statuses. Okay. All right. So as we go down, when we're searching directly for a buyer, I want you guys to think of this menu as being split into three sections. Over here on the left is how I search based on the type of property that that customer is interested in, including individual features of that unit. This middle section is how I search based on the location or multiple locations that they might be interested in. Over here on the right, this section is how I search by price range, bedrooms and bathrooms, half baths, garage spaces. If they have an expectation on the minimum size of the living area, I can search by living square foot adjusted. If they want to look for new construction as well, maybe they want to find a condo unit that's not going to go through assessments anytime soon. For example, I can enter a year built on when that building was built or when that single family home was built, including new construction or even pre-construction using this option. And then I also have, and we're going to go through this nice and slow in just a moment. This is just a quick overview. If I want to search by the total square foot of that property, I also have property square foot. All right. And if I want to search by the entire inventory of a brokerage or an office, and I have their office ID, I can search here using their office code. So again, think of this menu as being split into 3 sections. Okay. All right. Now, over here where you see property type, if I click on single family, that's going to turn it into an RE1 search, as you can see. It only allows me to select mobile and single when I click on single family. Okay, but if I unselect, if I click control or command on my keyboard and then I unselect it, it makes it back to normal where I have all of my residential property types. If I go to condo, co-op, villa, townhouse, it'll turn the menu into just an RE2 search where I'm just going to be able to find co-op units or condo units, condominiums, as well as hotel or townhomes. Okay. But if my goal is to search for both categories, my buyer's interested in maybe single family homes as well as condos, I wouldn't touch this menu. I would go here to type a property and then make my individual options. Okay. As you can see, this is a pick list. A pick list means I can select multiple options. Okay, when you're encountering pick lists like these right here, in order to make multiple selections, you're going to need to hold down the control button on your keyboard if you have a PC. And if you have a Mac, you would hold down the command button. So for example, we're going to click on single family, and then we're also going to click on condo. Holding down that control and command button, as you can see, it lets me click on both without losing the first one I clicked on. So that's the very first thing that I want to make sure you guys know about. Okay, as we move down, we have other filters, including waterfront, where I can look for properties that are waterfront. Yes means that it is a waterfront. No would mean that it's not a waterfront. Okay, I have this next field here that says RE1 SF pool. All right, if I select yes on this one, I should only find single family homes, which again, that's what RE1 means, where a pool is included. All right, so if I use this filter and I have condos and single family homes selected here, if I put yes for this field that's dedicated to just single family homes, I'm going to lose all of my condos in my search. So you always want to know exactly what it is that you're clicking on. Very, very important. Okay, so again, this is if I want to find a single family home that includes a pool. This one right underneath it is if I want to find a condo unit that has a pool as an amenity. So right over here, if I hover my mouse over the question mark, it's going to tell me that's what it is. Check the box to search for RE2 when you want to find a pool as an amenity. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to clear. We're going to move here in the bottom left. This little clear button will allow me to remove anything that I clicked on before. That is a good habit in the beginning as you guys get used to searching, especially if you do something that doesn't match what you're looking for. Clear says, I want to start all over. But clear also removes the statuses here in the top left. So always come back to your statuses in order to select the options that you're looking for. Okay, now we're just going to look for active units. So again, we cleared. I want to make sure I say that one more time. We cleared. We're just going to look for active units. We're going to turn off coming soon, and then we're going to turn off active with contract. Okay. Now, most of the time when we're working with buyers, they typically just want active units that should be relatively available for showings fairly quickly. If you did not know, there's a settings button over here on the right. If you click it, you can make the active status the only thing selected each time that you go into this category. So I'm going to do that again. We're going to click on active. We're going to click on the settings button, and then I'm going to click right here, set current selected search criteria as my default. What that does is it will just make the next time I come into this category, it will just make active status selected. Meaning if I want to throw in coming soon later or any other statuses, I can do that later. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look for a single family home for this first search. We're going to go here, RES property type single family. And so we don't pull mobile homes because my buyer in this scenario is not interested in mobile homes. We're going to go to type of property, and then we're going to click on single. Okay. All right. From here, we're going to move down. And we're not going to click on anything, but I want to make sure you guys understand the waterfront description and style because they're very, very close in relation. So if my buyer, for example, they have a boat, maybe they're moving from out of state or out of country, but they have a boat, right? And it's very important for that property to maybe be on waterfront. We have different waterfront options located here, including a bayfront property, a canal front property, creek front. We can also search based on the width of the canal. Very important, especially if my buyer has a boat. Canal width 1 to 80 feet, canal width 121 feet or more. We also have canal width 81 feet to up to 120 feet. And very important, if I'm working with a buyer that has a boat, we would want to know if there's any fixed bridges. Very important that they have to go by. Intersecting canals as well. If the property is an intracoastal front, a lagoon front, a lake front, if it is lake accessible through a canal, mangrove front, if the water is even navigable. So I would use this in conjunction with the other filters listed here. No fixed bridges, meaning it should get me right to the ocean. There's no bridges in the way. Ocean access, that means if the property itself is accessible to the ocean. If it's ocean front means it's on the ocean. Ocean access means it might be in a canal that leads to the ocean. Where we might have to encounter one fixed bridge. Maybe it's hard to classify waterfront, might be a shallow bed of water. So we have other waterfront, a point lot, pond front, riprap, which is going to be shallow water, typically rocks right there at the bottom. I would not put a boat on riprap water. Riverfront, seawall as well, as you can see. Meaning seawall means it's right on the ocean, and then the water goes straight down to the sea. All right. Now, as I mentioned, waterfront description is also connected and related to this option where you see style. Okay. Now, if my buyer wants a property that does not have a pool and does not have water access, I would use R30. If my buyer just wants a property that just has a pool as a part of the sale, I could use R31. Now there's other options. There's R32, which is, it means that the property's waterfront, but it's not accessible to the ocean. I have R33, which is a waterfront property. It does include a pool, but it does not have or leads to open ocean access. I have R34, which means that the property is a waterfront, does not have a pool. It's not listed there, and it does lead directly to the ocean. And then I have R35, which means that the property's waterfront, does have a pool, and does lead directly to the ocean. Again, these two go hand in hand and you can use them together. Okay. This last one, though, where you see amenities, this is dedicated to only for condos or possibly for townhomes. This is going to be for RE2. So if I have a single family homeowner that wants a single family home and they want to confirm amenities inside of that neighborhood or inside of that development, such as maybe an exercise room, I would not use this field. Again, amenities RE2, that's going to be for my RE2 style property. Okay, so let's just recap what we've done so far. We're going to use active for this first search, single family, and single. Okay, now we're going to move here into the middle section, and we can search for properties in a lot of different ways. If I know of an address in the area that my buyer's interested in, I can enter address in the area that they're interested in, just like this. I know that they're interested in property maybe in the Princeton area. I can put the address, find it, and I can search for listings from a quarter mile all the way up to 25 miles from that subject property using the map search. This is just a demonstration. We're going to clear it. We're not going to use it for this search. Just wanted to show you guys how to use it. Okay. If you have the exact address of the property and you want to find it in the MLS, you can add the address. If you want to look for units inside of condo buildings, we have this more option where I can search in several different condo buildings at the same exact time. You would just leave the unit numbers empty. This is how you would be able to search using multiple condo buildings at once. Okay. Just demonstrating that, we're going to delete everything out of street number and street name. Okay. Further down, you can also search county-wide. You can search by area numbers, municipal codes, township range, and section. All of these are directly from the county appraiser. All right. If you need a list of municipal codes, which is only for Miami-Dade, I'm building something for you guys, but in the meantime, you don't know your municipal codes or your township ranges, I'm going to put this directly in the chat so everyone has this. Bear with me a moment. There you go. This is the one I wanted to show you guys. And you ever want to search by municipal code? Use this second link, not the first one, second one, and you can search based on municipal code, just like so. You would just plug in individual municipal codes right here, or you can use the double square and then search that way. Okay. Here's my opinion, though, because I've been with the board for 11 years, guys. Searching by municipal code or by township range, which is all broke down here inside of this page right here. It's an exact way of searching. Now, that's something I would suggest to do later on as you get more familiar with the MLS system. What I would do is I would search for my buyers. If they want me to search by zip codes, you can't. I would search instead that way. So if they're interested in maybe 33301, 33302, I can add multiple zip codes. Or alternatively, I can search by entering individual cities. The reason why I don't suggest to right out of the gate as a new agent search by municipal code is there could be that unit across the street that's legally in a different municipal area that you did not find because you entered a exact municipal code. So, my opinion, if you're new, search first by zip codes or by city, or, and I'm going to teach you how to do this later, you can also search using a map. A map. Okay. So for now, we're just going to keep active status, single family, and then type of property single. That's all we've done so far. Okay, we're going to pretend that the buyer's interested in the Pembroke Pines area. So we're going to go to city. I'm going to put Pembroke Pines, comma. They're interested in the Miramar area as well. Okay, so under city, you can type in the cities, add commas, and then add additional cities. As an alternative, some of these menus have a double square option. If you do not know all of the individual cities here in South Florida, you can open up this menu and you can even search by name or just go through the list to find all of the cities built inside of the MLS. Okay, so we're going to add Miramar, Pembroke Pines. We're also going to add, just for this very first search, we're going to also add Hollywood. So I came up here to the top. I'm going to type out Hollywood. I'm going to click on Hollywood and then add that here to my search. Okay. These are going to be the three areas that we're going to select. I'm going to click on OK. And we have now narrowed down and found 1,029 individual properties. Okay. As an alternative, you also can search based on the name of the community or building. So development name is where I can enter the name of a building or community. I can even search by the name of the complex or the subdivision name. Okay. If you want to search that way, I suggest to use this one instead. This field that I'm on right now is 4 fields in one, where I can search the subdivision name, the development name and complex name, and the legal description, which is a part of the county appraiser's information. I'm guaranteed if I use this to find every single unit in that building or complex. How you would do that is you would enter an asterisk before and after each word. So if my buyer tells me, just as an example, I'm interested. I know I told you originally Hollywood, Miramar, and Pembroke Pines, but I'm really only interested in that community that we went on a showing yesterday. I'm only interested in the Silver Lakes community. You can add an asterisk before and after the name of the community using this field, and you're guaranteed to find all of the units available there. Again, this works for single family home developments, townhomes, and not to mention condo buildings. But you can also use, as I mentioned, searching by the address of that condo building right up here if need be. Okay. All right. So we cleared what we had under subdivision. We still have Hollywood, Miramar, and Pembroke Pines for this initial search. Okay, so the buyer gets back to us and then they tell us that they're looking for a unit starting at 400,000, but no more than 600,000. I would type it just like this when I have this button check marked. When I have this button check marked, it will automatically provide the first 3 zeros within my search. So the system knows that we're looking as low as 400,000 and up to 600,000. The buyer says they need a minimum of 3 bedrooms, but they might be interested in 2 bedrooms. So if I put 3 minus, 3 minus means 3 or less. If I put 2-3, it means a minimum of 2 bedrooms up to 3 bedrooms. I put a 3 plus, it means 3 bedrooms as a minimum or higher. Okay. All right. We're going to make this a very simple search. We're going to put 3 up to 4. 3 up to 4. All right. We're going to go to full baths, and then we're going to put 2 plus, meaning 2 or more bathrooms. Okay. We can also search based on the amount of half baths and garage spaces, as well as the overall square footage of the unit. So we're going to make this a little bit of a scenario. We're going to pretend that the buyer says the unit needs to be at least 1,300 square feet or bigger. I do not want a unit smaller than 1,300 square foot within the living area. So again, living area is anything inside of the property that is under air conditioning space. Okay, so we're going to use 1,300 plus, and we have so far 180 matches. But that buyer told us that they wanted to make sure that inside of the property that there is a office space. One of the owners is going to, once they purchase it, they're going to work from home, and they want to make sure on the outside that there's already an area for fruit trees. They want to be able to grow trees for fruits. Okay. Now, if we go down here, we have a section called additional fields. When I can't find the options that my buyer wants, I'm going to need to go here where you see additional fields to add more criteria so I can find exactly what that buyer wants. The additional fields, you're going to find that under the clear matches map and results section. So we're going to go right here to additional fields. We're going to click on add. All right. And then now that we're here, on the left, this is going to be the library of fields that I can add in order to better define my search. But I did say something in the beginning of class. We want to add additional fields that not just help us find that right unit for a buyer. We will also want to add additional fields to better define our CMAs. Okay, so again, this is the library. What we're going to need to do is come up to the top right to go into the input sheet so we can find the fields that will facilitate making this search easier. Okay, so that buyer mentioned they want a single family home that has an office space inside of it. Okay, so we're going to search this entire input sheet to find where that field would be. Okay, in order to search inside of this input sheet, if you have a PC, you would hit Control F. Control F on your keyboard. If you're a Mac user like myself, you would hit Command F. What that does is it's going to open up a search bar here in the top right corner where I can use different words to find exactly what my buyer wants in that property. So they mentioned they need an office space. So if I put in the word office, it's letting me know that there's 19 different references to the word office inside of this document. It will highlight and tell me exactly where it's mentioned inside of this input sheet. So it's pointing first at a field called office remarks. Office remarks is not going to help me find a property where an office is included inside of within the single family home. Okay, office remarks is for a brokerage to communicate things about the transaction within their brokerage. So this is not what I want. So I would come over here to this down arrow. If I click it, it's going to take me to the next reference to office inside of the document. So it's letting me know that there is a filter where I can find a den, library, or office space. If I add the field here in bold, again, in bold is going to be the name of the field I could add where it says additional rooms. So I would go back into my matrix. I would go into the library, and then I would type in additional rooms. And then once I find it, I can click on it and then add that to my selected fields over here on the right. And as I add fields over time, they will stay here permanently. I do not need to click on a confirm button. Every single field that I add over time over here on the right, they stay there forever and always, unless I click on one and I click on remove. That is the only way that fields disappear. All of your fields stay inside of your account and they can be accessed on any computer that you sign in. Okay. So that is one example. The buyer also mentioned that they're looking for fruit trees as well, meaning they're already done. Okay. So if I put in fruit trees inside the document, I could add the field exterior features where I can search based on if there's a barbecue station, a wood deck, a fence, fruit trees, a greenhouse in the backyard, patio, room for a pool as well. Maybe I have a buyer that wants to build a pool, maybe at some point, satellite dish, shed, electric shutters. It's letting me know. I would go into my menu and then search and add exterior features in order to conduct that search. Okay. Another really cool thing that you can do as you add fields, you can move them up, as you can see, or down so that you can quickly find those essential fields. Okay. Now, I have some essential fields that I highly suggest that you guys add. We're definitely going to need them for tomorrow's CMA. Okay. So I'm going to highlight those real quick in blue. All right. These are, as I call them, my out of the box fields that you pretty much need for every single search that you do. Remarks. I'm going to explain why you need remarks. So you would come over here on the left, type out remarks, click on remarks, and then add it. Short sale as well. Short sale means that the homeowner is behind on their mortgage payments. And with bank approval, they're trying to sell it. They might even be trying to sell it based on the remaining mortgage balance. Another one is REO, which is a foreclosed property. REO is short for real estate owned, where the bank is now in possession of the property. Restrictions. Restrictions is going to allow me to see if there's any restrictions on the buyer purchasing the unit and then maybe immediately turning it into a income producing property. Some associations do not allow a buyer to immediately turn a property into a rental. So I love restrictions for that. Design description is another very important one. My buyer wants a two-story property. That's the field I would use. If they want a property that's been substantially remodeled, I would use design description. If they want a one-story property, I would add the design description. Okay. Terms considered is probably the most foundational search you need when searching for a buyer. That's going to allow me to search based on financing that the seller would accept. If the seller's only going to allow for cash, only cash, I need to be able to search for just cash units. If my buyer can only purchase using FHA, or maybe they want to find a property that they want to move into to rehab the unit. Maybe they want a FHA 2 or 3K property. I can search based on the terms that the seller's willing to accept. Last but not least, we did add additional rooms, exterior features, and of course, equipment and appliances furnished inside of the unit. Okay. So again, I would call these my out of the box fields that I would use every single time that I search. The reason why I recommend short sale and REO, the reason why these are here is if I have a buyer that needs to buy a property and move into it quickly, they're needing to relocate. Short sales and REOs can take up to a year, if not longer, to close. My buyer may not want me to send them those type of properties. Okay. So we're going to go back. We're going to go back. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to short sale. We're going to put no. So we did lose some property out of that search. We're going to go to REO. We're going to put no. Again, that's if my buyer doesn't want to have to wait. Okay. We're also going to go down to terms considered here. And then what we're going to look for is all cash, meaning my buyer could pay cash if needed in full. And then we're also going to click on FHA, 203K, and then FHA, loan, those three. Again, holding down that control or command button. All right. Now, here's what I need to make sure you guys know about the and or and not feature. The and or and not feature that exists on a lot of these fields. Okay, so when I go to terms considered and I click on all cash, FHA, and then I also click on FHA 2 or 3K, or means that of the 136 listings coming back, it means some of them are all cash, some of them are FHA, and some of them are FHA 2 or 3K. If I want to see listings that allow for all three financing options, I would click on and. There's only two where the seller is entertaining all cash and with FHA and FHA 2 or 3K. Okay. All right. Not this option, not does the direct opposite of and. Not gives me everything that I did not click on. Okay. For now, we're going to keep it with the or option. Or. Okay. So we do have 136 units coming back with flexible options from the seller. Okay, we're going to go down to additional rooms, and then we're going to click on the den library office space option. So again, additional rooms, den library office space. And we should have, as we can see, 19 units available. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go down to exterior features. And then we're also going to click on fruit trees. And then that did bring me down, as you can see, to 7 matches. Okay. So this is more or less me hitting all of the points that that buyer wanted. Okay. Design description, though, we're going to click on 2-story. We're going to say that the buyer is interested in 2 stories. And here's where we run into an issue. Okay. So it's letting me know if I click on 2 stories, I don't have anything. Now, that could be because there's nothing here under exterior features where the agent selected that there's a fruit tree available. That might have to be something my seller may have to concede, or we may have to look at the backyard and then figure out if there's space enough for those fruit trees. So sometimes over searching, over filtering can cause that right unit that my buyer wanted to not show up. So we would want to look at that 2-story unit in order to figure out if it has ample space on the back for those fruit trees. Okay. We're going to go to design description, though. We're going to turn off 2-story. So I'm going to hold down that control button or command and then unselect it. We're just going to review the 19 units that we have. Just showing you guys best practices on how to use this platform most effectively. Okay. Now, you can look at the properties coming back using the results right here, or you can also look at the units. If you know South Florida like the back of your hand, you can also look at them from the maps perspective. Okay, this button map and results are the same exact map and results buttons that you have right up here. Okay, so first, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the map. We're going to click on the map. All right, and then when I go to the map, it's going to show me exactly where these units are located. So if my buyer ends up telling me, just an example, they say, I ended up getting a job near the Hollywood area. I'm not interested in too far deep into the Pembroke Pines area. If they're still interested in some of the Pembroke Pines area that's close, maybe closer to the 817 or the 858 or closer to Hollywood, right? I can keep those cities inside of my search. But if they tell me out of nowhere, as an example, I'm not interested in the Pembroke Pines area or Miramar, let's just look in the Hollywood area. You can go back into your criteria at any time, and then you could remove those cities from your search. Okay. We're going to pretend that they're interested in some of Pembroke Pines.
some of the areas that wouldn't be too far away from commuting to the Hollywood area. Okay, now you have the ability to use an option to better define your search area using drawing tools located here at the top. You have a radius tool, a rectangle tool, polygon, as well as a freehand. Okay, so if your buyer says, I'm primarily interested in units in the Hollywood area and parts of Pembroke Pines, I don't mind traveling, but don't give me a unit all the way over in the Silver Lakes area. I would use my personal favorite is the freehand. And then what I can do is draw in the area that I think might be best for them, just like this. I can select that area and then I can include that intersection only. So once I draw, it will automatically only provide that area. It will remove all of the listings outside of the area that I drew. But if I go to the little red circle and then I click on exclude this shape, it does the opposite. It will tell the matrix system that I don't want that area. Give me listings everywhere else. Does the opposite. Okay. If you want to delete your shape, some of us want to draw again. Sometimes we make mistakes. I can delete and then redraw later on. Okay. All right. Another really cool tool, if you guys did not know, here is you can zoom in on your map or zoom out. And then you also have a ruler button located right here. So if my buyer says that their office is located right there, I can draw from one of the listings. It's going to let me know how far away that property is to their office location. You also, if you did not know, you can use the jump to address right there. Let me just go ahead and just draw that right there. Let it go. You can go right here. You can enter their office address, and then that's going to also pin that exact location inside of the map as well, if you did not know. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And not to mention, guys, also, we have some layers that we can add inside of our map as we're searching. We can look at individual zip code boundaries, as you can see. We also have city boundaries as well using our map. We also have county line as well. I'm going to need to go a little more south for that. I can see the county line here. I can also see the school districts as well. Individual name of neighborhoods using my map. So if I'm new to South Florida, I know we have a lot of new licensees that are coming from out of state and you don't know your neighborhoods. This is a great way to learn them right here. Elementary school boundaries, middle school, high school as well, all under the boundary menu. And then if I want, I can also go into MLS status. This is better used when I'm not filtering. I can look at all of the active units in that area, units that are active with contract. You just have to be zoomed in just right. Anything that's active with contract, canceled, all the way down to expired. Again, MLS status, this menu is best used when you're not filtering in your criteria and you just want to use the map to see what's available. All right, further down, we have information from the county appraiser, including off-market sales, such as FSBOs or developer sales using the map. We can look at in this area if there's any tax sales, meaning what has been reported directly to the county. They're going to show up here with this little red marker. I can look at sales from the past 3 months up to 12 months. And then I have my true non-MLS sales. I'm going to break down the differences between these two. Non-MLS is my FSBOs. So again, non-MLS is going to be my for sale by owner sales. All right. And then this tax sale means that it's any sale that could have been listed, anything that was not listed in the county has a recording that it sold. This could be anything. This is my off market sales. This one, non MLS. I could look at those within the past 3 months, all the way up to 12 months. All right. I could look at distressed properties, including homeowners that are in pre-foreclosure. I'm in a cash area. There you go. There you go. Okay. We could see those there. Again, these are homeowners still in possession. Any auctions, any bank owned properties using the map. This is all directly from the county appraiser. Short sales as well, and bank owned sales using the map also. Okay. All right. We can also look at parcel characteristics, including the overall lot area, the lot boundaries of each property, the individual folio numbers of the units, bedrooms and bathroom counts, if they are available, overall building area square foot, meaning total square footage, if that is available per unit, owner name, as well as the individual addresses, if they are available as well. Okay, but that's not it. All right, we also have within the map overlays, we can get market insights, especially if we're not familiar with multiple markets. This is going to be a little bit more of a heat map. We would want to zoom out for this. All right, this one's going to give me the median sale price. Median meaning the price of homes in the middle of the market. This is going to let me know my luxury markets versus my more cost-effective options. I also have, as I go down, let me just do that. There you go. I also have a little bit further down, if there's any points of interest using the map, I can also add amenities, including arts and entertainment, banking institutions, education, fire and police, food and dining, restaurants, gas stations, healthcare, libraries, all the way down to transportation. That's if my buyer wants to make sure that their properties may be near a retail area. Maybe they want to be close to different restaurants. I can quickly find those here using the points of interest. Okay, guys, that's a quick little breakdown of the map and how to best use the map. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to go into our results. And what I want to make sure that each and every one of you guys know how to do is how you can set up your grids. Okay, so we're going to go into the results. And then what we're going to do is we're going to build a buyer's grid. The main goal is to try to see as much information about each one of these transactions without having to click on each listing. Okay. All right. So think of this results page as Excel. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to start basic, but we're going to add more things about each transaction. What we're going to do is we're going to move over to address. We're going to move right here in the open space, not on address, but we're going to stay within the column boundaries. Our mouse is going to do this. It turns into a crosshair. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to click, and then what we're going to insert under the search, we're going to add city space name. I'm going to do that again. We're going to come right up here, right in the address section. We're going to click, we're going to insert a column. We're searching in multiple cities. It's very important that I know the individual city names and then click on apply. That's going to show me from a bird's eye view in my results where these units are located. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add the original price. As you can see, we have arrows pointing down on a lot of these listings. That means that there was a price reduction. These are the current asking price of each seller. What we want to add is the original price. It's always good to know how motivated these sellers are. So we're going to come right over to LP, staying within the section within the cell without clicking on LP. We're going to stay within the column. We're going to insert and then search. We're going to add the original space list price. We're going to click on original list price, and then we're going to apply. Okay, that's going to allow me to see the original list price in comparison to the current asking price. So, for example, I have this one in Silver Lakes, was originally priced at 620, and they're currently looking at 550. as you can see. I now have that detail without having to click on each property. Okay, we're not done. We're going to build out a grid and then we're going to go into a property so we can break down the property page. Okay, so far we've added the cities, the original price, but let's go over to ML number. We're going to move our mouse over here to the left where you see ML number. We're going to add more information. All right, what we're going to add next, where we have ML number, we're going to click and then insert. We're going to type in terms considered. We're then going to click on terms considered, and then we're going to apply that directly to our grid. That's going to let me know the financing options from the seller, as we can see. Okay, but if you noticed this field, it kind of pushed everything else a little bit to the right. You have the ability to condense your fields by going to the very top of the field and clicking, and then clicking this wrap line button. I'm going to do that again. We're going to come right up here. And if you want to make and shrink the field, you can go to wrap line, click on apply. And if you go to the very edge of that field, just like so, you can shrink it so that you can still see everything else to the very right of the field. Okay. So again, click, wrap line, apply will allow you to shrink it. Okay. But we're not done. All right. What we're going to do next is we're going to build a buyer's grid. We're going to add next where you see ML number. We're going to insert DOM for days on market. So again, DOM for days on market. We're going to go to DOM dash grid, and then we're going to apply that directly to my chart. That's going to show me how long each one of these listings have been on the market, as you can see. Okay. But if you noticed earlier, when I typed out DOM, there was another one in there called CDOM. So we're going to add that one too. We're going to go to ML number. We're going to insert. We're going to insert the same exact thing. We're going to type out DOM, but this time we're going to click on cumulative days on the market and then apply it. Okay. All right. Now, if you did not know, you can have this whole menu work how you want. If you want to see the properties that are priced the cheapest to the most expensive, you can sort by list price by clicking on LP. If you want to find the units that have been on the market for a very long time, you can go to CDOM, which is cumulative days on the market. You can click it twice. That'll point the arrow up, and then that's going to show you the units that have been listed truly the longest to the units that have been listed the shortest. But what's the difference between DOM and CDOM? I want to make sure I explain that in the MLS. DOM, which is this one right here, this is tied to the listing. So it's letting me know that this listing has been on the market for 830 days. However, the cumulative days on market lets me know if the property was listed within 4 months of this listing, either by this agent or by another agent. So it's letting me know, and the price is rigid at $499. It's letting me know that this property's truly been on the market for 990 days. The cumulative days on market for a property does not reset unless it's off of the market for 4 months, which is why it's truly letting me know it's actually been listed more than 830 days. It's actually been listed for 990 days. Okay. Now, if you want to save this so that you keep this forever as a part of your searches, you would come right up here to the pen and paper. This little pen and paper will allow you to save this as a display. So we're going to call this our buyer grid. And then I'm going to click on save as a copy. Okay, so when I click on the pen and paper and then I name it, I will need later on to go to my display and then click on this so that all of these individual options that I added appears. Okay. As an alternative, you have a settings button right next to it that if you click it, you can click this button right here, set current display store order and count per page as my default. That is another way of backing up your grid as you add additional content. That will make this your permanent grid. But if you reset the grid, they disappear, which is why the pen and paper allows you to create a backup display. Okay. Now, at any time after you create a display and you want to add more information and you want to save it to your display, you can. What we're going to do is we're going to come over to subdivision complex name. All right, I'm going to click. We're going to insert this time price. We're just going to put in the word price, and then we're going to click on current price per square foot. That's going to allow me to apply inside of my grid the overall price per square foot. But if I add something after I originally save a display, I can go to my pen and paper and then click Save Changes. That will allow my grid that I've created before to have that additional content that I've added over time. And this menu is customizable. You can move any of these fields around however you would like. It is customizable. Okay. All right. Next up, next thing that I want to make sure you guys know how to do is use the actions, refine, save, and carts buttons located here at the very bottom. Okay, so again, if I click on criteria, criteria puts me back into my initial search with all of the individual options that I typed in. If I want to go back to my display and see all of the individual options that came back in my search, I just click on results. Okay, now under actions, if you click the square right up here in the very top, there is a stats button. The stats button, if you click on tabular, what that does is it's going to give you averages based on the bedrooms and bathrooms, square footage, the average price of the property that is at the cheapest, the average price of the unit there at the top, which is your max, and then an overall average for all of the units that you came back with. The unit that's priced at the cheapest, how long it's been on the market, property that's been listed the longest at the maximum price, how long it's been on the market, and overall average days on the market for the areas you're looking up, which is insightful when you're working with your buyers and sellers, as well as the price of the unit median that's in the middle of this market, along with their individual price per square foot and how long it's been on the market. So again, that's the stats button, guys, by clicking on the tabular option. Okay. Now, another thing that you can do is we're going to unselect all of these units. Okay. Now, another thing that you really, really want to know about is, for example, I looked at the photos for this unit and I realized that this is the unit my buyer is really, really interested in. It's right next to maybe where their office is going to be located. And maybe I just want to share this unit first without sending an email to my customer. You can click on it. And then there is under the actions tray, there is a share link option. The share link option will allow you to generate a link that you can send via text message, email, or through WhatsApp. And your customer, when they access that listing, it's going to have all of your information inside of it. And then they can quickly just look at that property. Again, this is an alternative. I want to repeat, this is an alternative to sending an email. I'm going to show you how to send emails in just a moment. They get all of the information about the listing. They only see our information when we send them listings. They will never see the listing agent's details. Just want to make sure I mention that. They can jump through the photos. They can see the price decrease where it was previously listed, an estimated monthly cost, an overall view of the breakdowns. All right. They can even request a tour. So it is interactive. They can click on request a tour as well as contact you directly for more information about the property. Okay. So again, that is if I just want to send one listing here. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to discuss the CMA button. This is if I conduct the CMA using Matrix. I can offload all of the units that I found in that area. I can throw them directly into my CMA. Okay. If my buyer is interested in maybe the first unit, the fourth unit, and the eighth unit, and they want to go on a showing, I could go to showing time, this button right here. This will allow me to see if the agent has enabled these listings using showing time in order to see if they're available for showings. Otherwise, if I add these properties to my showing cart and I select, for example, Saturday, and it says right here, not yet requested, it means that the agent is not using showing time. These two listings, I can pick a time when I would like to see them right here. And then once I once the agent comes back and lets me know if they are available, I can I can actually send this report directly to my buyer. So we have a whole class just for showing time. This is a little bit of a bonus, guys. If they come back saying that they are available, meaning confirmed, meaning I select times that I want to show these units for my buyer, I can go here to the top right and then I can submit a buyer's version of the report, letting them know a turn by turn direction on how to get there, including an overall map on how to get to the individual showings as well. Okay, there's other functions in here, guys. This is a little bit of a bonus. We don't usually cover this, but there's a really cool smart route option, which will automatically line up each showing. So you can go to all showings and get back to maybe your office. You can add another stop at any time. You could load up the address. That'll help you get to all of your showings in a quick and easy manner. Okay, so that's going to be the beautiful little showing time button. And you also have an alternative way to provide directions on how to get to those properties for showings using the directions button as well. Just like showing time, you can also add a starting place. Maybe you're going to meet them at your office and maybe end as a stop place at a restaurant. You can add multiple locations and then print and provide those or even email the turn-by-turn directions directly to your customer. Okay. All right, guys. Let's go back. Let's go back. All right. So the other thing I want to make sure you guys know about, we pretty much knocked out all of these options with the exception of email. I'm going to cover email in a greater detail once we go into auto email in just a second. Okay. Next up is refine. We're going to go to refine. Okay. So if my buyer, as an example, they end up telling me they're only interested in this unit, and this unit, there is a narrow button. Narrow will keep what you have check marked, as you can see. All right. Now, discard, let me unselect. Discard does the opposite. Okay. Discard will remove what you selected. So I want to repeat that. If I click on this unit and I click on narrow, it will only keep what I've selected. If I click on this unit and I click on discard, it removes that unit. But if I made a mistake, there is an option to undiscard. But once you narrow in the MLS, there's no going back. I just need to make sure I say that. You can undiscard discarded listings, but narrow, once you narrow, it doesn't let you go back. Okay. All right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. We're going to go ahead and go to save. All right. All right. And then what we're going to do under save is we're going to save this search. We're not going to send this search yet to the buyer. We're just going to save it. We're going to pretend that the buyer told us what they were looking for. We're waiting on them to come back based on their approval to better define the price range. So we're going to go to save, and then we're going to go to new safe search. And then we're just going to name this search just real quick. We're going to say John Smith family. All right. Homes with office space right there. So again, John Smith's family homes with office space. All right. And then at any time, I can, if I've already added that customer inside of Matrix, I can go to contact and then grab their information. If I haven't added that customer yet, I can go here, create a new contact, and then I can add all of their information, including their title, an overall category, if they're a buyer, seller, friend, or prospect, possible deal. I can add additional categories if I customize. Customize will allow me to add other groups such as possible deal, prospect, title company. I can add different types of contacts here inside of Matrix. Once I've added all of their information, I can now assign this search directly to that customer. And if I want to enable this search as a favorite search on my main homepage of Matrix, I can click this button. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save it. All right, saved it. And if I go to the main menu of my Matrix, you should now have a My Favorite Search section where you can quickly pull up to 10 searches inside of your dashboard. That will allow you to go to the current results. All right. Now, as I mentioned in the very first class this morning, 101, anything that you create inside of the MLS, you can find anything that you create here under the My Matrix section. We can go to that Save Search right here. All right. And I can go through all of my searches to find it, or I can search based on the contact name. If I assigned that search directly to a customer, I can find them in alphabetical order, or I have a My Last Run button over here on the right that will immediately allow me to find that search quicker, as you can see. All right. Now, what I want you guys to get in the habit of doing is when you're working with that buyer, before they're approved, you can still, of course, set up that search. But once they come back and tell you anything that they want you to change, maybe they all of a sudden want you to look for kitchens that have been remodeled, or they want you to enter the exact budget, anything that they want you to change, you can go here where you see criteria. Criteria puts you back into that initial search with all of what you selected, and you can take this safe search, change the price range if need be. I'm going to put it down to 580. I'm going to say that they were only approved up to 590, right? I can change anything inside of that search. Save it, update the details. And then if I want to take that safe search and then turn it into an auto email, you can. You would go into the results, just like I'm doing. You would select the square here at the top left. You would go down to save. And then you can either create a new search if you want. What I mean by creating a new search is if you have spouses. Sometimes you may have spouses that both want to be able to register into their one home and then provide you feedback. You would need to create two different contact records for each customer, and then you would want to create two different safe searches assigned to each one of them. Okay. If they don't mind accessing the same exact account to look at the listings and provide you feedback, you can just create the auto email. Okay, so that's where we're going to go. New auto email. And I hope you guys don't mind if we go over a little bit. This class is typically 2 hours in person. And what I'm trying to make sure that I do is answer every single thing that I possibly can. I want to cover absolutely everything that I can. So we might go over 5 minutes, guys. Okay. So auto email, if you don't know what it means, auto email means that I can automatically send brand new listings as they come in and send those directly to my customer via email. Okay. So I'm going to go to contact. I'm going to select that customer. And if I want, I can CC their spouse. Now, this, if I CC the spouse, they're going to need to log in as, for example, Franklin to provide me feedback. Otherwise, if they want to provide me feedback independently from their spouse, I need to create this search again and then send them an email. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put a little subject. I'm going to put homes in Broward that matches what you are looking for. Okay, we have that welcome email. Again, what this is going to tell the customer is exactly every single thing that they need to do in order to provide me feedback. I'm going to put this in the chat so everyone has what I have as my welcome email. So this is the first email they get. There's something in here that's very important. It says, please be sure to set up your one home account so that you're able to save and favorite listings. Let me know what you think of these listings. We can adjust your safe search at any time. You can also like or dislike and leave notes for me on any listing as long as they register their one home account. They don't have to register a one home account to see the listings. But for them to provide me feedback, give me a thumbs up on listings or to tell me what they don't like or add notes, they have to register. We're going to go ahead and put right here your realtor, Tyson Haynes. And then if you want to keep that as your default, so you don't have to ever type that in again, you would click the settings button to keep that locked in. Now, because this is an auto email, we would want to replace the message that shows up there for something like this. If there's other listings that come in each day that matches what that buyer wants, this works as a quick little message so that they can jump right into looking at those listings. I found these additional listings for you to look over. Just something basic like that. All right. Now we're going to move down. Under criteria, this lets us see exactly all of the different filters that we used. But the next two options dictates how this email runs. So settings, this menu right here is dedicated to concierge mode. What do I mean by that? We're going to do this in a second search in just a moment. Concierge mode will allow me, if I enable it, it means that I have to pre-screen the listings as they come in, and I have to pick the listings that my buyer gets based on their feedback. So if just as a point of reference, the buyer doesn't want to have, for example, Chinese drywall, or they want to make sure that the kitchen's been remodeled, I can pre-screen those listings before my customer gets them. We're going to do that in just a moment. We're going to go to schedule. Schedule is auto email. This whole entire section means I don't want to proof the listings. I don't want to look at them. I just want the search to automatically go to my customer for them to view. But there's three options. ASAP. ASAP means that that customer is going to get an email each and every single time a listing comes in. Daily means they'll get one email a day. And if there's 5 that comes in, they'll only get one email of those 5 listings. Monthly is not for a buyer that needs a property quickly. Monthly would be for that buyer that is looking maybe later on, a month or two from now, to begin buying. Daily is a good option. A lot of us work 9 to 5 jobs, including myself. So what I would want to do is at least Monday through Friday, I would want to be fresh in their email as soon as they get home in the afternoon. And the weekends, I would want to be in their email in the morning. That way, Saturday morning, if they have a property they want to view, I can see if it's available maybe that next day for an open house. This is a good little rule of thumb to use for the daily email. Okay, once you're done, you just simply click on save, and that saves the email, and it generates that auto email. Okay, so if you want to find that auto email, you just go to My Matrix auto email, and then that's going to show you not just that email, but all of your auto emails. Okay, so we're almost done, guys. We're almost done. Okay, So right here where you see all of your auto emails, I want to make sure you understand all of these different options. When you see a red circle around an auto email, it means one of two different things. It means you disabled the email, meaning it's no longer running, or or your customer did not access that auto email within 45 days of you sending the auto email. You could click this little arrow button. When you click on it, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to go to the settings, and then that's going to tell you if you disabled it or if your customer did not go into the email within 45 days. It will also tell you if they ignored their welcome email. All right. So if the email is incorrect under settings, if you made a mistake on the spelling of their email, you would need to go to My Matrix under contacts. That's going to show you all of your customers. And if you made a mistake, you can access their details, edit the details, and then this is where you can update their email address as well as add notes. It kind of works like a CRM. You can add notes about what they're looking for. You can update their category. You can also select within the system if they're mortgage approved. And if you want listings that you send them, you can also enable reverse prospecting. What that means, I want to make sure that this makes sense. Enable reverse prospecting. If you turn this on and you send listings to this customer, it means that the agent can contact you, the listing agent can contact you about the property that they listed. They will never see your buyer's information. But if you turn this on, you send listings to, for example, Franklin, the listing agent can get back to you and let you know anything about that listing. Maybe they have a price decrease. Maybe they want to let you know. Maybe they have a showing up and coming. They can let you know. Okay. Another really important thing about contacts, guys, I also want to make sure I mention is you can also within this menu see all of the individual searches that you've set up. It's going to give you the total amount as well as the individual searches that you've created outside of auto email. And you can also see if you've added listings directly to their carts here and if they've added any notes as well. Okay. If you do turn on reverse prospecting, you will have a referral number that will appear here. That referral number, I want to make sure we understand what that is. If you send listings, so for example, we send listings to Franklin, right? And then one of the listing agents contacts us, they can give us a reference number. They can say, hey, I see that you sent listings directly to one of your buyers. The reference number was 78430. That is for Franklin. They're not going to know Franklin's information. They can give you that referral number so you can go here under My Matrix, under contacts, so you can find exactly which customer it was for. Okay. All right. We're almost done, guys. I want to thank you so much for your patience. There's just a lot to cover when it comes to Matrix. And typically, this class does take 2 hours. I want to make sure I cover every single thing that I can. So we're going to go back under My Matrix, under auto email. So again, red means it's a disabled search. And if it says, I want to make sure I mention, if it says it's because they did not access their one home, you can access the details and then you can resend a welcome email. If that customer tells you, I didn't receive the welcome email, you can resend it after you update their email address. If that customer tells you, I did not get that welcome email the second time, there's a good possibility that you're not the first agent they've worked with. They probably worked with an agent before. And what you're going to need to do is go over here on the top right where you see hello, your name. Right here where you see hello, your name. You're going to need to go here to help. And then what you're going to need to do is have that client opt back in to receive emails from us. You're going to need to go here to emailing. right here. And then there's an article right here where it says, how does my client opt back in? You're going to need to go here. And then you're going to need to have that customer opt back in, opt in to .scf at matrixemailer.com so that you can continue to send emails to them. They may have unsubscribed when they worked with a past agent. When we see a check mark like this, it means it's an auto email that is running and that customer did access that welcome email. When I see this green ring around the search, it means that that particular customer did not access the welcome email. I need to resend it. Okay, so there's a couple of other buttons. Settings. If I have a disabled search, settings will not only allow me to confirm their email, but if I want to opt that customer back in, if I want to turn the auto email back on, I can go to enabled at the bottom, save it. That resuscitates the auto email so I don't have to do it again. Okay. Market update will show me any listing that has had a price decrease or any status changes. Okay. What I would do is I would select the date that I want to find. And then this will tell me if any listings come back, if there was any price modifications, or if they were on the market or maybe went back off the market. Okay. Date since, this little button right here will batch all of your emails based on when they were sent from the MLS. So again, date since will show you exactly the dates that the auto emails were sent. Now, it does have to be, I want to be very clear, it does have to be an auto email. Okay, let me go ahead and find one for you real quick. This is going to be one right here. All right, so date since right there. That's going to batch all of those listings together in order based on when they were sent. Okay, all right, guys. That is almost it. Last but not least, I'm just going to do a quick search using concierge mode. So I'm going to go to search. This time we're going to look for a condo unit. So condo, co-op, villa, townhouse. We're going to look for a condo unit in the, let's use a couple of zip codes. Just a couple of zip codes. Okay, so again, condo, active. We've plugged in several zip codes here. All right. We're going to say that the units were built from, let's do 1995 plus. All right. There. And then we're going to look for one bedroom, one bathroom units as well. Okay. Priced. We're going to go a little wide. That's a little too low. Up to 1.3 million. Just like so. Just to be wide on purpose. Okay. From there, I'm going to go to results. And if my customer, and I say this very nicely, they have expectations about the property, including maybe a redone kitchen, things like that. What I can go ahead and do is still save this as an auto email. I can attach the search to them, add a subject. And if I want to pre-screen those listings as they come in before my buyer gets them, I would go to settings, enable concierge mode. And then that's going to require me for me to go through each and every listing before my customer gets them. Very important to turn this on. As new listings hit the MLS, you want to make sure that you get an email alert. As I mentioned, you have to approve or reject the listings as they come in. This will give you a courtesy email as brand new properties hit the MLS. If you want the customer to show up in reverse prospecting, you can turn that on. And if you want to enable this as another favorite search in your Matrix dashboard, you can click that button as well. Once you've saved the concierge search, as I mentioned, we still have to go through each listing to make sure that it matches what that customer wants. All right. And if these are the ones that I want my customer to see, I check mark, I approve the selected, and then I would remove and reject any listing that I don't think is a good match for them. Okay, now we're going to pretend this is the last thing we're going to go over today. We're going to pretend that this is the next day, meaning it's Tuesday. And then we get an email letting us know that new listings came in. Tomorrow, you're going to have a concierge widget. And as new listings come in, you will see your customer's name with the amount of listings that you need to view in order to accept or reject in this menu. Okay, so that's the other half of concierge mode. As I mentioned in the very first Matrix 101, we have the ability to preview the customer's account by accessing the dashboard here and then going directly into one home. This will allow me to see from my customer's perspective all of the listings that I'm sending them, including every single search that I've ever set up for them right here. When I go there, this is going to allow me to see any properties that they're favoriting or rejecting using this main menu. I can also see the option for them in order to create their very first search. So if they want to search independently, they have the new, they can start a new search. And if they want to access their planner here, go through a questionnaire so that we can find the right type of property for them. This will load up here as a property fit. So if they go through the questionnaire, answer all of these individual questions, it's going to show up here as a property fit. So the closer it gets to 100%, it's totality, which is matrix, letting us know that it is a higher match for that individual buyer. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for your time. I wanted to throw in a couple of some additional incentives. As I mentioned, you guys are going to get a copy of today's recording. What we're going to throw in there is also a breakdown of the market watch and the hot sheet later on today. So don't worry, I have all of your emails. I'm going to send that direct